everyone. I welcome you to another life story coming to you from Lifestories Worldwide. My name is Alan Jones. We bring you stories from all over the world, and the stories go out all over the world as well. We bring you stories of people who go through different experiences, abuse, problems, struggles in their lives, but how they've overcome these difficulties and struggles, how their lives have been changed after going through pain and rejection and much more. Today, we have a story coming to you from South Africa. If you want to contact us, you can go to our website, lifestoriesworldwide.com. There you'll find all the contact information. You can find a Bible app that you can download for your own private devotions and all sorts of information. We recommend you to go to our YouTube channel, Life Stories at Lunch. There, these stories can be viewed over and over again, and we'd encourage you to press the subscription button and the like button. Let us know that you are interested in our broadcasts. So it gives me great pleasure today to introduce Lulu Motlhammme, who was born in Mabopane, if I got that right, in South Africa, but then moved to London. And it was in London that someone spoke to her, and it was there that things changed her life. I'm going to hand over now to George, who's going to interview Lulu and ask her some questions. Thank you, George and Lulu.
Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you so much, Lulu, for joining us here at Life Stories Worldwide. And it's so good of you to come here and tell us your story. First and foremost, tell us a little your full name and where you come from, please.
Thank you, George, and thank you for having me on Life Stories Worldwide. My name is Lulu Motlhammme. It's quite difficult surname to pronounce. I had to learn myself, believe it or not. I come from Pretoria in South Africa. I was born in Pretoria in the township of Mabopane, and George, Alan said it so correctly. So that's where I was born. That's where I grew up. And yeah, when my parents divorced, I was 13 years old. And that's when we moved to the city of Pretoria. We lived in Sunnyside, Pretoria. This is 1993, pre our democracy. So that's my early years. That's where a lot of possibilities were formed in my life, and a lot of minuses, a lot of things were taken away, but a lot of things were given as well during that period of time.
Now, you said you were 13 years of age when you moved to Pretoria. Did you live in the countryside before that? What was like living in the countryside in South Africa?
Not even countryside. A township is a location where where majority, if not everybody, is Black. So we were placed there as a group of people who spoke a certain language. This was now the policy of the government of the time. So all of us were Tswana speakers were placed in Tswana, the township of Mabopane. So we were all Tswana speakers. So we lived there. Living there was, because I was so young, I was very adventurous. I had boys as friends. I did BMX, biking a lot. I played volleyball. So I was a very active teen, a very active child, extremely active. Never did any housework or cleaned wash dishes or anything like that. No, that wasn't me. You will never find me in a dress. You'll always find me among boys, getting up to all sorts of mischief. And when I mean by mischief, it's literal. From going to people's homes to pluck mulberries from their trees without permission.
Very nice.
You name it, I did it. Guilty as charged as a child. So that's the kind of childhood I had. Both my parents allowed me to explore. I think my mom sensed from when I was very young that I was different. So I would come from a family of 3 girls, and very different from my older sister and my youngest, our youngest sister.
So you were in the middle, basically, of the two.
I'm the middle child, and I had all the middle child syndromes and symptoms. including not getting along with my mom for many years. For many, many years, I felt that I didn't belong to her. I wasn't of her. I remember I went through a phase where I believed I was adopted.
Wow.
You know, it was that intense. And that carried on, that feeling of not, you know, coming together with your mother as a girl child, growing to your teen years and your youth, really did a number on me, really affected me.
Life Stories Worldwide is broadcast live every Monday night at 8 p.m. UK time. We broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, and StreamYard. Why not join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. UK time for Life Stories Worldwide. Speak to us here at Life Stories Worldwide. You can simply by dialing +44 7943 550287. Call us now. And how did you get on with your dad?
Super, marvelously. With all his faults, I did not see. I could not acknowledge the part he played in the divorce. I didn't want to see it because my dad was my hero.
Right.
For me to be the way I was growing up, that adventurous girl, was because my dad allowed it. And he used to say this to me: never forget whose you are. And that was so defining for me. Academically, you know, whatever I did it with that in mind, that I belong to, I am from somebody. And this was to have a meaning far later on in life, when I fully understood the magnitude of what he was telling me.
So how important then is that heritage to you then?
Extremely important, because now I know its origin. Right? Now I understand what he was saying, but he was never clear. We never had enough time to talk about who we belong to and how great that father is, greater than my own biological father. So when I got to understand that, George, it changed my whole life.
Wow.
It healed me. It healed me. It healed the relationship with my mom. And Alan was saying in the intro that in London, that's when my life changed. I'm not sure who I shared this with, or it is just, you know, the Lord speaking to Alan, but that is so true. The relationship with my mom was very, not even, we always bumped heads. We could never speak without arguing and disagreeing. And sometimes it would be so intense, right? And I remember while in London, one day, I just sat and I began to sob. I began to cry. And I said to myself, this just happened. And I said to myself, I will never, ever be the cause of pain for my mom.
Okay.
It changed my life. And I gave her a call and we spoke, and I apologized, and I was crying over the phone. And obviously, as a parent, she was worried that I got into some trouble and, you know, the police were going to come or something like that. But no, it wasn't like that. Until today, as we having this interview, my mom is by my house. She's 76 years old.
Wow.
And she's with me.
Excellent. Now, growing up in a township where everybody spoke the same language, did that feel strange to you, or was it just normal for you?
Not at all, but I'll tell you what was strange. My dad was working for the water department, water and sanitation department. And through that department, he used to get a lot of visitors from Asia and Iran and Israel and so on. So our household was this melting pot of people, where for everybody else, it was our house that was strange, because all sorts of people came in. in an area where it wasn't common.
And
You know,
what were the living conditions like in the township? Did you have a big house? Like, was yours a posh house, or was it a small house, or what?
it was a big house. It was posh.
Oh, very good.
My mom is a professional nurse, and my dad, like I said, worked for this water and sanitation department. So on an economic scale in the area, my parents were good earners in comparison to others.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So
And
we had a good childhood.
And your education, what was your education like there? How was that for you? School?
School was fun. I got to go up to tertiary level where I studied journalism, communications, and advertising. So that's me on the one hand.
Mm-hmm.
Had access to, this is now post 1994, where we could study anywhere, being people of color. Yes, and so I had access to that as well.
So that was post-apartheid, was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And how did that open up for you then when that happened? How did you feel?
I think that's the time in my life where I felt lost.
Mm-hmm.
The divorce happens in 93, and we move into the city, a multiracial area with every culture and every language. But I don't have a dad to guide me through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was lost. And with that transition in our family, it meant economically as well. Though we are living in the city with the multiracial people, economically, we had taken a dive because it's no longer 2 salaries in the house.
True.
Right? And a huge chunk is taken out. And my dad remarried. So there's like this great divide that happened, not only in the physical, but for me, emotionally, where I felt lost. I really needed my dad, and he wasn't around. So I did what every lost teenager does. You connect with a group of people, whether they're doing the right things or wrong things, but you connect because you're all looking for something. And I remember I had my first cigarette during that time.
Okay.
And we lived, this was so crazy. We lived right across a filling station. And I didn't want my mom to know that I had taken up smoking. So I befriended them.
It's very easy to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Life Stories at Lunch, to receive notifications of when we are live. Simply click the bell. If you would like to contact us here at Life Stories Worldwide, you can. Simply by emailing lifestoriesworldwide@gmail.com or visit our website at lifestoriesworldwide.com.
In South Africa, you don't fill up your own tank. There are people who work and they fill your tank, right? So these are the petrol attendants. So I befriended them because I knew I had to go somewhere in the evening to smoke. And that's what I did. I would cross the road.
In the petrol station.
At the filling station. There was no other place. There was no other place. Remember, you connect with teenagers from your school who live in different areas, right? And evening time, you're alone at home, wherever you stay. So this is a habit now. You're used to studying and taking a smoker's break.
Yeah.
And you go out for, a puff or two, or you finish the whole ciggy, and then you go home, you buy chewing gum. So it was all very convenient when I think of it, because I could buy sweets and chewing gum and crisps and whatever, and my mom would never know. So I went through that. I bet
she did. I bet your mom knew, but she probably never mentioned it.
Well, no, she never did. She never did. I realized later that actually it's not in the smell, it's in your hands.
Right.
So you can't hide it. You can't hide it. So yeah, you're right. She knew.
I've been there with my parents as well. Now, you had a massive change in your life at a very difficult age, actually, 13 years of age, when you did the divorce and then moving to the multicultural area. How did the divorce affect you yourself?
I think I was in denial at first.
Mm-hmm.
I was in denial as to everything that was happening at home, right? Because I was spending so much time outside our home, right? So I was in denial. That's number one. And that denialism caused me to be rebellious. Though I played sport, though my academic record was good, inward, I was just raging. There was a storm inward. And I was seeking validation. I was seeking to be affirmed. 13 to 16, very fragile years in my life. Very fragile.
What about your sisters? How did they cope, or did you talk about it?
Our eldest, she's late now. She became very protective over my mom. Extremely protective over mom. I think because she had a better understanding. She was 7 years older than me.
Okay.
So she had a better understanding as to what was really happening at home. And the youngest one, she had a completely different experience. She was, when this happened? She was no more than maybe 10 years old at the time. So life that she knew was living in town. She never got to really know our father.
I see.
So it didn't affect her in the sense of loss. Yeah. Because she was starting out this life in the city.
And as you were going through this and going to the school, what ambitions did you have? And did you want, I mean, you mentioned journalism and that. What did you want to be when you grew up?
A lawyer.
A lawyer, okay.
Yeah. When I was doing my final year of high school, I met this wonderful teacher, and she had me speak to a few of my classmates, and she called me and said, there's this competition of Toastmasters coming up, and I think you'll be great because you're so argumentative and funny at the same time. I think you'll just be excellent. So she entered me into this competition, and she trained me, and she coached me rather, and I won. I won the regional level. I won the national level.
Wow.
And she said to me, I'll never forget, whatever you do, you will end up being a great speaker and people will listen. And that was the last year I saw this woman, and I was certain the only way to get to speaking to people and people listen is if you study law and you go into politics.
I see.
So that was the route I thought I was going to take. I finished my schooling. I go to register for law. And this professor comes up to me and she says, she points me out from the queue, you come here. And I go and she says, have you heard of media studies? And I go, no. So you must study media studies. And that's how I ended up with journalism and comms. I'm still adventurous even at that time. I'm still taking chances. I'm still going over and beyond what is expected.
And what was that journey in media like? What was it like for you starting out from being a journalist in that?
Starting was amazing, to discover the thinking process and how news is put together and all that. And then you actually do the field work and you're like, no, this is not what I thought it would be like. Because you would go weeks without exciting news. I remember at the time we used to watch Murphy Brown, the series. I don't know if you had it in the UK, but it's an American-based series called Murphy Brown. And they would do, it was so exciting in the newsroom, and that's the picture we all had. And it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that, right? And being based in Pretoria, very few things happened. A lot of things were happening in Johannesburg.
I see.
Things were happening in Cape Town. Pretoria is very conservative, so things don't happen as extreme or quickly as in other major cities. And I very quickly left.
I mean, there were. I know that from the news, as you said, there were lots of riots and what have you in South Africa. Did they affect your life in any way at all?